He seemed to regard Trump's behavior as somehow proving that his own was far more reasonable. I remember he said about Trump, now, of course, this is Jeffrey Epstein saying this, which actually kind of magnifies the description, but he said that Trump has no scruples.
Good Lord. Wow.
Here are these two guys, both driven by a need to do anything they wanted with women, dominance and submission and entertainment. And one of them ends up in the darkest prison in the country, and the other in the White House.
Donald Trump promised to expose child trafficker Jeffrey Epstein's secrets.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
But then did a complete 180 once in office, calling the entire thing a big hoax by the Democrats.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats.
According to multiple sources, his name is all throughout the files, and it turns out the two were way closer than Trump wants you to know. Jeffrey Epstein. The name alone should send chills down your spine. The billionaire financier ran one of the most extensive child sex trafficking operations in modern history, with the Department of Justice confirming over 1,000 victims, children whose lives were destroyed by a predator who used his wealth and connections to evade justice for decades. Despite the staggering scale of his crimes, only 2 people have been convicted. Epstein himself, who conveniently died in his jail cell in 2019, and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. That's it. 1,000 victims, just 2 convictions. Now, as Epstein's crimes have come to light, Donald Trump suddenly has developed amnesia about their decades-long friendship.
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
He claims that he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, called him a creep, and he's demanded investigations of a Democrat sex ring pointing fingers at people like Bill Clinton and Obama. But the second that he's back in office, Trump packed the Department of Justice and the FBI with loyalists, making them accountable only to him, and then the DOJ suddenly decided that they're not going to release the Epstein files. When his own supporters demanded the transparency that he'd promised, Trump lashed out at them, calling them stupid for falling for a big Democrat hoax. But just how deep do Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein go? Well, here's what we know so far. In 1992, Trump hosted a party with Jeffrey Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. You see him on camera kissing, grabbing, and groping multiple women. He then ogles the women with Jeffrey while the girls dance in front of them. You can then see him whisper something in Epstein's ear, causing him to keel over laughing.
I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
The next year, Epstein attended Trump's wedding to Marla Maples.
This is the proof that Epstein attended Trump's wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York. For comparison, we'll show you on the right a photo of Trump and Marla Maples at the same location under the entryway arch.
We can also see him in the background of another picture. That's Howard Stern on the far right, along with Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and Epstein is behind them.
So you actually called President Trump. You called him directly to ask him about this.
Yeah, we were not on the phone very long. I think our call was about 30 seconds or so. But when I asked him about the wedding photo, he said, he sort of paused for a second and then said, "You've got to be kidding me," before calling CNN fake news and then hanging up on me.
Throughout the 90s, they were photographed together at Victoria's Secret events and private parties, and Epstein visited Trump at Mar-a-Lago multiple times. According to Epstein's ex, Stacey Williams, they were inseparable, practically joined at the hip.
Stacey Williams briefly dated Jeffrey Epstein in 1993. She's a former Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. How would you describe Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's relationship back then?
He always had anecdotes and would say, "Donald and I just did this and we did that and I had to go here." You know, they were just clearly close friends and did everything together.
And according to Epstein's flight logs, Trump regularly flew on his private jet, the Lolita Express, disgustingly named after Nabokov's novel Lolita, which is about an older man abusing a 12-year-old girl. Epstein himself claimed that he and Trump were best friends for over a decade.
That was close to straight.
And in 2002, Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, stating that they had known each other for 15 years. Now, I want to make it clear, just because they knew each other, that alone doesn't mean that Trump was complicit in or even aware of Epstein's crimes. Epstein rubbed shoulders with countless politicians, celebrities, and scientists, and even the Pope. Although, maybe that last one's not the best example to make this point. But here's the difference with Trump. In the same 2002 New Yorker article where Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, he stated that Epstein was a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them on the younger side. The following year, Trump sent Epstein a birthday card where he drew a sketch of breasts and wrote, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's victims, was recruited from Mar-a-Lago, Trump's own resort.
I was a baby stuck in a world where grown-ups were allowed to do whatever they wanted, and I was lost.
And on at least one occasion, Trump flew dozens of models to Mar-a-Lago, claiming that it was for a modeling event, but the only people there were Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump.
He dismissed a business partner's warnings about his friend's conduct. I said, "Look, Donald, I know Jeff really well. I can't have him going after younger girls."
Pam Bondi told Trump in February that his name appeared in the Epstein files.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
Kash Patel reportedly confirmed it while working as one of Trump's closest aides. Even Elon Musk, while working with Doge, tweeted that Republicans weren't releasing the files because Trump's name is in them. And none of this should surprise anyone who's been paying the least bit of attention, because at least 26 women have accused Trump of sexual misconduct going all the way back to the late 1970s. Non-consensual kissing, groping, assault, and even rape. E. Jean Carroll even proved it in court and was awarded $5 million when a judge ruled that Donald Trump had in fact raped her. And when he appealed the case, she won the appeal.
What is the best thing about being Donald Trump right now?
Well, other than the fact I'm married, okay?
Right.
And I'm very happily married. I have a great wife. But if I weren't married, I'd be able to get all of the girls I want, except for possibly Robin.
Do you think you could now be banging 24-year-olds?
Oh, absolutely. I have no trouble.
Would you do it?
I have no problem.
Yeah, do you have an age limit, or would you?
No, I have no age. I mean, I have an age. I don't want to be like
upper bracket,
Foley with 12-year-olds.
Trump himself bragged to Howard Stern about walking into teenage beauty pageant changing rooms where girls were half naked. He laughed about it, and they said that it was his obligation to sample the goods.
You own this pageant. You go over. You're meeting the girls and stuff. One of them comes up to you and says, "Mr. Trump, you're a very sexy man.
You're a beautiful man. You have fantastic hair.
Well, you're a powerful man. Right? You're a powerful man.
Right.
I want to sleep with you." Now, you're not the type that would say no.
I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Right. No, but I mean, you see a beautiful woman, you want to have that. You're a guy who likes to have everything, right?
Well, couldn't that be construed, however, as
conflict?
Yes.
Well,
I don't see it as a conflict.
It could be a conflict of interest, but it's the kind of thing you worry about later.
Oh, I see.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with vagina. And,
well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
And countless beauty contestants confirmed this, describing how Trump would walk in while girls as young as 15 were half naked.
He just came strolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless, other girls were naked. Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
They called it creepy, said it made them feel extremely uncomfortable, but they were encouraged to engage with Trump anyway.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him. I'm telling you, Donald Trump owned the pageant for the reason to utilize his power to get, around beautiful women. Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So there's no one to complain to. Everyone there works for him.
As far back as 1997, Jill Harth sued Donald Trump, accusing him of groping her under the table at a business meeting and then pulling her into his 12-year-old daughter Ivanka's bedroom to grope and forcibly kiss her.
He wanted to have the business meeting in the bed. He's a big guy. He was forceful and he pulled me into the room. I was pushing him off and I was like, would you stop it? I didn't come here for this. I was angry.
Donald, seriously, you know about sexual predators and things like that. I mean,
You are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
Stacey Williams says that Trump groped her in front of Epstein in his office.
Donald was outside of his door and his hands were all over me. They were on my breasts, they were on my butt, they were on, my hips, up and down, while the two of them just kept having a normal conversation.
Another of Epstein's assistants describes being called to Epstein's office. She showed up in running shorts and describes Trump coming up to her, hovering over her, eyeballing her legs like a piece of meat, until Epstein joked, "She's not for you," and they walked out.
When Epstein came out of the office, I was making a face at him because I felt threatened, and so I went, and he kind of laughed and backed off. And as that was happening, Epstein walked out and said, "Oh, no, she's not here for you." And he emphasized, "She's not here for you." And he said, "Come with me." And he escorted him into another office. And I was like, who's in there? And when he said, "Oh, I thought she was 16, I thought, is there a 16-year-old in there? Right? So what people need to understand is I'm not some crazy person who just reports people if they look at my legs or I'm in an office with them. But when someone is hanging out with a convicted or a pedophile, and I discover that that pedophile has stolen my little sister, and then there's a powerful businessman that's making comments about me being my sister's age, then I think that the FBI needs to take a good look at it.
And this isn't just a recent publicity stunt. She warned the FBI twice about Trump and Epstein as far back as 1996.
When we reached out to the White House for a comment, they responded. The president was never in Epstein's office. And in fact, the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep.
I don't know what to say to that. He's lying. I don't appreciate it. He was absolutely at the offices. And it was 9 o'clock at night. I thought it was inappropriate. But also, they were best friends at the time. So what I say to that is, I don't think he's really responding to the fact. And what does he mean, the offices? He needs to be specific, because he was in the Helmsley Palace offices. Yeah.
And then there's Katie Johnson, who filed a lawsuit against Trump in 2016, accusing him of raping her when she was 13 at Epstein's estate.
He ripped off all my clothes, and he started to basically have sex with me, and I was screaming because I'd never had sex before. It was my first time, and Tiffany was yelling at him too. She was saying I was a virgin, and he told us to just shut the fuck up, and just basically took my virginity while I was crying and telling him to stop, and that's basically begging for him to just stop.
And what was Jeffrey Epstein's reaction to this?
He comes over mad because I was crying, and he said that I should be thankful that someone like Donald Trump took my virginity. He basically didn't say took my virginity. He said, I should be glad that someone like Donald Trump popped my cherry and not some pimply little 14-year-old. And I just was like, what if I said, what if I get pregnant? Not even talking to him. I didn't want to talk to him. I was talking to Tiffany. And he said, well, you'll get an abortion then, bitch, and then just walked away. If you have a 13-year-old daughter, and would you be okay with the person who's running our country doing that to your little girl?
She wound up dropping the case after receiving multiple death threats. In her deposition, she claimed that Trump was interested in her because he reminded her of his daughter.
Donald Trump had specifically asked about me because I remind him of his daughter, and she said, well, she's 13 as well. So he knew the first time that he saw me, but he took a liking to me because I look like his daughter. He seemed to take a liking to me because I was I was so young, and I was also a virgin, so.
Which aligns disturbingly closely with many of Trump's own statements sexualizing Ivanka.
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Oh, that was Hulk Hogan creepy.
My daughter is beautiful, Ivanka.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's
She's tall.
unbelievable.
She's almost 6 feet tall.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
Yeah, she's hot.
And in a 2015 Rolling Stone interview, he said, yeah, she's really something. And what a beauty that one. If I weren't happily married and, you know, her father. As well as his comments about his 1-year-old daughter, Tiffany.
Trump and then-wife Marla Maples appeared on the TV show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous back in 1994. Host Robin Leach asked about their daughter Tiffany, who was then just a year old.
Now, Donna, what does Tiffany have of yours and what does Tiffany have of Marla's?
Well, I think that she's got a lot of moral, and she's really a beautiful baby, and she's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
He said this about this child here in 1992.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
And then he said this about Lindsay Lohan when she was still a teenager.
What do you think of Lindsay Lohan now? I think she's hot. There's something there, right? Yes. But you have to like freckles. I've seen a close-up of her chest. Yes. And a lot of freckles. Are you into freckles? If the father's a wreck, like the way he is. Right. You imagine the sex with this troubled... Yeah, you're probably right. She's probably deeply troubled and therefore great in bed. Back in the day... How come the deeply troubled women... Yes. Deeply troubled... Right. They're always the best in bed. If for some reason what I said is true, I mean, they're just unbelievable. I can tell from the... You don't want to be with them for the long term, but for the short term, there's nothing.
And this is all coming from the man who boasted that when you're rich, you can get away with anything.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Who bragged about moving on married women like a bitch.
I did try and fuck her. She was married.
It's huge news there.
I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there, and she was married.
And grabbing them by the pussy.
Grab them by the pussy? Could do anything.
Biographer Michael Wolff spent hours interviewing Epstein and recounts the following.
Epstein, on more than one occasion, would bring out these photographs that he had of Trump.
I have seen these pictures. I know that these pictures exist, and I can describe them. There are about a dozen of them. The ones I specifically remember is 2 of them with topless girls of an uncertain age sitting on Trump's lap, and then Trump standing there with a stain on the front of his pants, and 3 or 4 girls kind of bent over in laughter. They're topless too, pointing at Trump's pants.
Where are these pictures?
You know, he would go and he would take them out of the safe, and then he would return them to the safe. And I would say it was likely that they would have been there when the FBI, Trump's FBI at that point, not to put too fine a point on it, raided Epstein's house and took the contents of the safe in 2019.
And here's what Epstein himself had to say when asked about his relationship with Donald Trump.
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Epstein pauses, shakes his head, then answers.
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
And to make this even more damning than it already is, you've got Trump's own reaction to the Epstein investigation. First, he fired prosecutor Maureen Comey, who was working the Epstein case. Alex Acosta, the attorney who brokered Epstein's sweetheart deal in 2008, where he served just 13 months in a county jail with work release, despite dozens of women accusing him of trafficking, well, Trump made him his Secretary of Labor. On July 8th, 2025, when asked about the Epstein files, Trump got upset.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking... We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
He called it boring.
But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going.
He denied that Bondi ever said that he was in the files, but then he accidentally let slip that they had found his name in the files, but it was all fake.
All of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yeah. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, right, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me.
He declared the entire Epstein story a hoax by radical Democrats.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats.
And he attacked his own base for believing it, calling them stupid.
Some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net.
And that he no longer wanted their support. Facing backlash and plummeting approval ratings, he asked the DOJ to release the grand jury testimony, knowing full well it wasn't something that they could legally demand. Then he deflected again by urging them to go after Obama instead.
It's sort of a witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold. They tried to rig the election. So that's really the things you should be talking about.
Posting AI-generated images of Obama getting arrested. Is that the fat toddler J.D. Vance meme? Amazing. Basically, it's one big, nothing to see here, move along. And when Congress tried to push through a motion to release the Epstein files, Republicans, the same self-proclaimed party of family values, protecting kids from pedophiles and human traffickers, voted almost unanimously against it. And when Democrats tried again, the GOP shut down the chamber, adjourning early for their summer recess to avoid voting on it. One by one, Republicans who previously had demanded transparency fell in line and changed their tune. Bondi said that she misspoke about the Epstein client list being on her desk. Political commentators like Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro just suddenly stopped caring about the files and said it wasn't a big deal.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands.
There's clearly an attempt to attack Trump here. Why the attacks on Trump? That's the question I'm asking. Go after Epstein all you want, that's fine, but you're accusing Trump of a cover-up. The question is, what's the theory? Or is it a cynical play to attempt to drive down Trump's favorables and seize control of the movement that he built? Because that's what it looks a lot like.
Kash Patel said that there was actually nothing worth releasing, and right-wing news programs like Newsmax began painting convicted child trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell as a victim of gross injustice.
She just might be a victim. She just might be. There was a rush to judgment. There was a lot of chaos there for a while. All right, granted, she hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, and I know that's apparently not good.
So I've never met a more predatory, terrifying human being in my entire life, and neither had Virginia Giuffre, and neither has Annie, or Anushka, or many girls like Shantae Davies. There's hundreds of us that were preyed upon by Ghislaine Maxwell. She's a very dangerous person, and she threatened my life on many occasions. I've had to move and be in hiding because of this predatory child predator and just victim predator. So it's completely unacceptable for anyone to call her a victim. The woman is not a victim, she's a victimizer.
But when Donald Trump was asked about her, instead of condemning her actions, he wished the human sex trafficker well.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. Do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
So make all of this what you will, but to me at least, it's pretty damn clear what's going on. You have a convicted rapist and accused pedophile in the White House, and the Republican Party is defending him. They are never going to drain the swamp because they are the swamp. It's not Hillary Clinton in the basement of a pizza parlor. It's not trans people who are stealing kids out of bathrooms to traffic them. It's not hardworking immigrants who are coming in and bringing all of the rapists with them. Every single accusation that they have made has been a projection. The call is coming from inside the White House. This is unmistakably the pedo party, and we need to keep hammering that. And the worst part is, because he owns the Supreme Court, because everyone in Congress who's a Republican is too spineless to oppose or impeach him, you're stuck with this for 3 more years. Literally, the only way out is if we completely flip enough seats to get a 2/3 majority in Congress so that you can impeach the president. But that's extremely unlikely to happen thanks to gerrymandering and voter suppression bills, which is why I've been more vocal about politics lately and why I'm starting a new channel in order to talk about it. I actually relocated here to the UK to team up with my friend Stephen Woodford of Rationality Rules, and it's been quite the process getting everything rolling with all of the visa paperwork and submitting a business plan and everything. It's just been like doing 2 full-time jobs at the same time, but all of that is coming along, and while it hasn't been approved yet, I just wanted to give you guys an update. I did do a fundraiser because the plan is to push back against a lot of this stuff and start making regular videos about politics so that I keep it separate from the Holy Kool-Aid channel. It'll be 2 separate businesses. If you guys want to support that, I am wanting to hire a full-time team and really expand and make it a full-time media production where we're releasing daily content and eventually multiple pieces of content a day. So I'll put a fundraiser to that below, but I wanted to give you guys an update and let you know where it's at. I haven't just been sitting on my hands, and if we come together, we really can pull off something awesome here. Thank you guys so much. Dare to be curious, and as always, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
If you're pathological, there's no cure for that, folks. If you're a child molester, a sick puppy, you're a child molester, there's no cure for that.
Working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy?
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
He expects...
Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that question.
Oh, wow. I think he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
If you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you know, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.